tragedy on the Hudson River in New York City, where a helicopter carrying 5 tourists broke apart in midair. It crashed into the water.
It was supposed to be a quick, exciting, and unforgettable ride above New York City. A family on vacation, flying past the Statue of Liberty, taking in the skyline from above. But just 16 minutes later, something went terribly wrong. With flights now suspended and investigators searching for answers, one question still remains: what really happened up there? It was Thursday afternoon, April 10th, 2025. The weather in New York was mostly cloudy, with light winds coming from the south. Visibility was good, and although rain was expected later, conditions were ideal for flying. At 3 p.m., a Bell 206L4 Long Ranger took off from the downtown Manhattan heliport. On board were 6 people, a pilot, and a family of 5 visiting from Spain. They had come to New York to celebrate Mercè Camprubí Montal's 40th birthday. Mercè was the mother of the family. Her husband, Agustin Escobar, was a senior executive at Siemens Mobility and served as global commercialization manager at Siemens Energy. Their 3 children, aged 4, 8, and 10, were with them on the trip. The helicopter was piloted by 36-year-old Sean Johnson, a Navy veteran with a commercial pilot license and nearly 800 hours of flying experience. The flight followed a popular sightseeing route, past the Statue of Liberty, then up the Hudson River toward the George Washington Bridge, before looping back south. But just minutes after takeoff, something went terribly wrong. At 3:08 p.m., the helicopter reached the George Washington Bridge, made its turn, and started heading south along the New Jersey side of the river. Soon after, something went wrong. Witnesses reported hearing sudden noises and saw parts of the helicopter separating midair. The main rotor detached, and the aircraft flipped before plunging into the Hudson River. Videos from witnesses showed the rotor, tail, and other parts falling into the water near Jersey City, directly across from Pier 40. The main body of the helicopter landed upside down and remained partly submerged. Emergency teams from both New York and New Jersey arrived quickly. Divers searched the area and recovered the passengers from the wreckage, but it was too late. 4 people were found unresponsive at the scene, and 2 others, both children, passed away later at the hospital. All 6 people on board, including the pilot and the visiting family, tragically lost their lives. News of the crash spread rapidly across international headlines.
So people here in Chicago are now honoring a pilot from that helicopter that crashed in the Hudson River last week.
Photos taken shortly before the flight showed the family smiling, unaware of the tragedy about to unfold. Officials from both cities, including New York Mayor Eric Adams and Jersey City Mayor Stephen Fulop, shared messages of sympathy. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez called it a heartbreaking loss.
Meanwhile, NTSB investigators have retrieved crucial pieces from that chopper that broke off midair.
As investigators began their work, one fact became clear early on. The helicopter hadn't just gone down, it had broken apart in midair. By the next day, recovery teams had pulled the main fuselage from the river. Divers also found critical components like the tail, rotor, gearbox, and parts of the tail boom. The main rotor system, which had detached in flight, was later recovered as well. Based on early damage assessments, some aviation experts suggested the rotor blades may have struck the tail boom, a failure that would have made it impossible for the pilot to regain control. The investigation soon turned its attention to the company that operated the flight, New York Helicopter. Founded in the 1990s by Michael Roth, the company had faced ongoing challenges in recent years. In 2019, it filed for bankruptcy. Since then, it had dealt with lawsuits over unpaid debts, and reportedly had one of its helicopters repossessed just months before the crash. At the time of the incident, the company was still operating older aircraft, including the Bell 206L4 from 2004 that was involved in the incident. In 2013, one of their helicopters lost engine power while flying over the Hudson River. The pilot managed to land safely in the water and everyone on board was rescued. 2 years later, in 2015, another helicopter briefly hovered before unexpectedly dropping back to the ground. After that incident, the FAA reported that some of the aircraft parts were badly corroded and no longer airworthy. In September 2024, a maintenance report revealed metal particles in the transmission oil of one of their helicopters, a potential sign of internal wear. Although the helicopter that crashed on April 10th had passed a major inspection on March 1st, that didn't rule out potential issues. The FAA had previously issued safety notices in 2022 and 2023 for Bell 206L models, warning operators to inspect or replace rotor parts due to potential faults. It's still unclear whether those updates were applied. Following the crash, the FAA took action and suspended New York Helicopter's certificate to operate. The move came after the company's Board of Operations told the FAA that flights would be paused, a decision the CEO Michael Roth later said was unauthorized.
The FAA has ordered the helicopter tour company behind this to stop operations.
The National Transportation Safety Board also raised concerns. The helicopter did not have any flight recorders, meaning there was no audio or video from the cockpit, and none of the instruments captured usable data. This had been the aircraft's 8th flight of the day, adding to concerns about the company's maintenance practices. Without onboard recordings, the investigation now relies on eyewitness accounts, video footage, and what can be learned from the recovered wreckage. So far, the findings have raised serious questions. Eyewitnesses described the crash as sudden and unusual. The flight was operating in a part of New York's airspace with limited air traffic control. A few minutes before the crash, the pilot reportedly said he was planning to return to refuel, though it's unclear if that decision had any connection to what happened next. Michael Roth, the CEO of New York Helicopter, said he was heartbroken by the crash. When asked about the helicopter's condition, he stated that maintenance was handled by the company's maintenance director, who declined to comment. Michael also said he had no idea what caused the accident. After watching footage of the crash, he noted that the rotor had detached, something he said he hadn't seen in over 30 years in the industry. The Bell 206, the model involved in the crash, has a long history. Originally developed for the U.S. military in the 1960s, it was later adapted for civilian use, including police work, news coverage, and tourism. Over the decades, thousands have been produced. However, the design is now considered aging compared to newer helicopters, with updated safety features and more modern systems. It's smaller, carries fewer passengers, and in high-frequency tour operations, that added wear and tear can become a serious factor, making proper maintenance even more critical. The crash has once again raised concerns about the safety of helicopter tours in New York. Since 1977, at least 38 people have lost their lives in helicopter incidents in the city. In 2009, a tourist helicopter collided with a small plane over the Hudson River, taking the lives of 9 people. In 2018, 5 passengers were unable to free themselves from harnesses after an open-door helicopter went down in the East River. That accident led the FAA to ban open-door sightseeing flights, but safety concerns have continued. Following the recent crash, Senator Chuck Schumer called for more unannounced safety inspections at helicopter tour operators. He also urged that New York Helicopters have its operating license permanently revoked. City Councilwoman Amanda Farias added that non-essential tours should be paused while the investigation is ongoing. Not everyone agreed. A helicopter industry group cautioned against rushing to new regulations before the full investigation is complete. Still, with more incidents and near misses in recent years, pressure on the industry continues to grow. For the family involved, none of these responses can undo what happened. What was meant to be a joyful birthday celebration turned into a horrible tragedy. As the investigation continues and more details emerge, one question remains. If there were known concerns about the aircraft and a history of issues with the company, how was this flight allowed to happen? What happened above the Hudson wasn't just sudden, it was unthinkable. And as investigators continue to search for answers, the question remains, could it have been prevented? What do you think really happened? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more.